So why Chicago? Most of this video is going to involve channel 7.1. I typed in Chicago on his channel, and he has several videos here with his predictive techniques. He's been doing it far longer than me, a good 7 years now. He's predicted earthquakes. He's centered on Chicago. He saw patterns no one saw. Him and who he says he learns from. For him, it was 7 years ago. And I got to give him respect. So his channel is about Wormwood, which is 811 code. So another 11 code. But he goes into several monuments, including St. Louis, the St. Louis Gateway, Trinity Nuclear Test Site, a whole bunch of different monuments. So I'm going to defer to him on a lot of this information. But to show you how important Chicago is, I have to show you his videos. Having him show it will be much quicker than having me show it. This is for pure educational purposes. It's not for profit. I'm giving him all credit on this. I hope he understands as I show you this.
Hey guys, this is part 2 of my Lincoln, Reagan, Trump video. If you haven't watched part 1, should probably go watch it. You'll have a better understanding of what I'm showing here. And if you're not familiar with my channel, I show the number coding from the book of Revelation, and specifically Revelation 8:11, the Wormwood event. I believe that event will happen in Chicago. I'll just jump right in here and show you guys the Wormwood ritual for Trump Tower in Chicago. Construction for the Trump Tower in Chicago started on March 17th, 2005, and the final spire ceremony was on January 3rd, 2009. And this is a span of 1,388 days. And also you can see that the Trump Tower in Chicago is also 1,388 feet. So you can see here they've synced up the ceremony, spire ceremony, with the height of the tower also. And what makes this a wormwood ritual is if you enter 811 into the base 10, base 12 calculator, in base 12 you get 577, and when you add 811 to 577 you get 1388. So through the math they've established that this is a wormwood ritual. And I'll move on to the Soldier Field ritual. Soldier Field Stadium construction began on 8/11/1922 for Revelation 8:11, and the address is 1410. If you drop the 0, you have 141, and Revelation 8:11 is the 141st verse of Revelation. So you can see they did some pretty specific coding here for Revelation. If you measure directly from the center of the Lincoln Memorial to the center of the Washington Monument, we get 1,410 yards, and that would be a reference to the 141st verse of Revelation, which is 8:11. And you could maybe fudge these numbers a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that that was the intention behind that 1,410 yards. The Washington Monument, you can see right here, is inside this little football-shaped, inside these two circles here. I believe that's called a mandorla. Anyways, that represents the nuclear football, and it's exactly 1,400, center of the Washington Monument, 1,410 yards exactly to the center of the Lincoln Memorial. And I know this is deliberate because if you measure also from the center of the Lincoln Memorial to the center or I should say to the Ford Theater where Lincoln was shot, assassinated. This is 1.41 miles. Let's see here. What do we got here? Yeah, that's Lincoln Theater, or excuse me, Ford Theater to Lincoln Memorial, 1.41 miles. So they've kind of established both of these as wormwood rituals for Revelation 8:11.
Hey guys, it's August 19th, 2023, and we're going to finish up our second part of our 9/11 Chicago earthquake and Mothman prophecy. We're going to do part 2 here. We're going to cover our connections to Philadelphia and Chicago. In this video, I told you guys I was going to talk about Bruce Willis and his connection to the 9/11 astronomical alignment with Mercury Rising, because Mercury Rising was a movie that Bruce Willis starred in 1998. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about the symbolism for Chicago and its connection to earthquakes in the Bible, and a few other people and dates that are connected to wormwood. And that's what my channel is all about. It's about the Revelation 8:11 wormwood star. And since we're talking about wormwood here, I've mentioned this is the 929th chapter of the Bible. Malachi has our CHI, and CHI is the 22nd letter of the Greek alphabet, and it is the symbol for it, or the letter for it, is an X, and it's called Chi. So there's our connection with Chicago. So if you're looking at, like, has the X, right? We were talking about the X eclipses and all this stuff. So much symbolism with the X chromosomes, the X eclipses, the 22nd letter. And if you remember, I showed you that the Oklahoma City bombing that happened on the 220th anniversary of the beginning of the American Revolution. So there's another 22 connection, and there's a lot of 220s. I'll cover more 220s in the future, but a lot of 220s. And if you go from the date of 9/11 to the next date on the calendar, which is 4/19, it's 220 days between those two dates, between 9/11 and 4/19. That's 220 days. Our X and our Chi connection. Okay, let's take a look at the map here. I'll show you some interesting connections here on Google Earth. A few years ago actually, someone had left a comment on one of my videos, and they said that Philadelphia and Chicago are 666 miles apart. So I'm just going to show you real quick exactly what it looks like when you do the search for the pins that Google Earth places for Philadelphia and Chicago. So we'll search for Philadelphia here, and I'll just show you that I have the pin down right where it shows, and then we'll do Chicago. But the point is here is that Chicago and Philadelphia are 666 miles apart, and Chicago has the 60606 zip code, the 666 zip code. So I'll just show you real quick. There's our Willis Tower. Talking about Bruce Willis here in a second. So we'll go back over to Philadelphia. So this measurement is just within a few thousand feet of exactly 666 miles. So we have 666.23, and I actually I measured exactly from the center of Philadelphia City Hall here. They have this nice compass in the center, and if you go from that to the Willis Tower, it gets you even closer to 666. We have the Willis Tower here. But the Willis Tower is located Willis Tower, 233 South Wacker Drive, 60606 zip code. And this 233, that's actually the 13th Fibonacci number. That's interesting because 91, the number we talked about last time, 91 is the 13th triangular number. So these 13s are showing up quite a bit as well. So if we go back and take a look at the ancient city of Philadelphia, it was called Alasir, and it was founded in antiquity as Philadelphia. And originally Alasir translated to multicolored town. And of course Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, right here in the Greek, the city of him who loves his brother. So that's where we get the city of brotherly love with Philadelphia. But in the Bible, where they're mentioning Philadelphia, originally called Alasir and meant multicolored town. And of course, Philadelphia was destroyed by an earthquake in the Bible, and it was known for all of its many earthquakes. So that's where we're making the earthquake connection to Chicago here. Of course, Dennis Rodman, known as the Worm, right? And that's what my channel is all about, Wormwood, flying Wormwood star. And he actually has a daughter. Her name is Trinity. Remember in the last video I showed you that the line from McCormick Place in Chicago to the San Jacinto Monument, the 90 degrees, points directly to the Trinity test site. But Dennis Rodman has a daughter named Trinity. He's called the Worm, and he actually, of course, connects to this Alasir or Philadelphia, right? He's the multicolored. He's known for his multicolored hair when he played in the NBA. So there's all his connections, the 91 and the multicolored hair, his connections to Philadelphia. Remember I showed you guys that in the movie The Mothman Prophecies, it starred Richard Gere. Richard Gere was from Philadelphia, and he starred in The Mothman Prophecies in 2002, right? There's our 22 again. And then in the same year, Chicago came out after The Mothman Prophecies. Richard Gere from Philadelphia. But what's really interesting here is that I was looking up some more moth connections to wormwood, and I found this Chicago company that makes this Basque liquor, which is low in thujone, and thujone is the wormwood, and it's called Jeppson's Malort, and Malort is known for its bitter taste, right? Wormwood is known for its bitterness, and in Swedish, Malort literally is called the moth herb, and in Swedish, it's the Swedish word for wormwood. So moth herb and wormwood in Swedish. I'll just show you that real quick. And now watch this when I start typing this in. First of all, when you type in worm, the Swedish translation is mask, and then we do the rest here. It's Malort. So there's another interesting connection with the Mothman prophecy. Remember, the Mothman prophecy is that the sightings of the Mothman precede a disaster.
This is a picture of a mask, an old Phoenician mask. This is how they wrote a mask. This is what it's called. This is what they called it back in the, how the Phoenicians called it. This is a phi, the Phoenician phi, which is the same as the Greek phi. F. F-E-R-S-U. F-P-H-E-R-S-U. Fersu. Mask. This was a mask. They called it fersu. We say it fersu. This is where we get the word person from. Mask. Phoenician. So from the English word worm, the Swedish called mask, but the mask that the Phoenicians called it fersu, which we call back to person. So basically, a person is a worm, not a man or a woman.